I beg pardon, you asked me about my fondest Christmas memory? Well, there is no question in my mind, no moment of hesitation. It was when I first rode down the Duke of Gloucester Street to attend the Old Royal College of William and Mary, and there, for the very first time, to set eyes on Miss Martha Wales, the eldest of the 4 daughters of Mr. John Wales. So I was immediately smitten, but inquiring, I discovered that she was already spoken for by a classmate of mine, Mr. Bathurst Skelton. And 2 years later, Bat left the Royal College and they were married. But I ever lament to inform that about 2 years after that, Bat was overturned in a carriage accident on the road to Jamestown, and very shortly thereafter expired. Well, the widow Skelton went into her usual widow's seclusion. All widows endeavor the same, for about 1 year. But it was not even a year when I was riding down the Duke of Gloucester Street and heard in the distance the most melodious sound of a spinet coming out of a parlor window. Well, I recognized the melody. In fact, so did my horse. He perked up his ears, took me swiftly in that direction. When we arrived, well, I went up and looked through the window, and there was the graceful form of the widow Skelton seated at the spinet. Well, I knew then she must be coming out of her seclusion. So I made a rap on the door. The servant girl attended, and I inquired of her whether the widow Skelton would enjoy Mr. Jefferson to accompany her on his violin. She went in and returned to the affirmative. So I very quickly snatched my kit. Now, I wonder whether you know what a kit is. Oh, you should. It's a miniature violin, only about that long, half the size in its width. It's what the music masters carry about in their pockets when they go about to teach music and dance. And that, every gentleman should understand, is its greatest virtue, its portability. You can carry it in your pocket, so it's always ready for those immediate moments of romance. So I brought in my kit. The widow Skelton and I commenced what became an hour's musicale. And when we adjourned, it was clear that she had accepted my courtship. Well, I was the further delighted upon taking my leave when the servant girl said, "Mr. Jefferson, do you know, at the moment that you desisted in your accompaniment and the widow proceeded in a solo upon the spinet, well, I looked out the window and I saw to a distance down the Duke of Gloucester Street 2 gentlemen riding in this direction. The oddest thing occurred. The ears of their horses perked up. Taking them more swiftly to this spot, they both quickly dismounted, ran up onto the porch, ready to knock on the door at the same time. When it was then, sir, they heard the music of your kit, co-joined with the music of the spinet, and the one looked to the other in great disgust, saying, 'We're too late. Jefferson's gotten here before us.'" Oh, we enjoyed a courtship for about 2 years, and we were married on the 1st of the year, 1772, out at the forest. Oh, the ceremony was but 15 minutes. You know, the Anglicans get married, begin a family as soon as possible, but the revelry went on for 2 weeks. Oh, Mr. Wales was renowned for his hospitality, and thereby, at the end of January, I hitched up my phaeton, and Mrs. Jefferson and I began to drive westwards, there that I might introduce her to my mountain area. Well, within 1 day's travel, we found ourselves caught in a snowstorm. We had no idea. This was the largest blizzard yet recorded in Virginia history. By the end of the second day, the snows were 4 feet deep. We had to abandon the phaeton, make the rest of our way on horseback. And when we arrived there at the foot of my little mountain, well, we tethered our horses in a shed that I had built, and we walked to the top of my mountain. Oh, it was nigh midnight when we arrived there, and all the servants had gone to bed. Though I was beginning my mansion house, I was still residing in a small little brick cottage, just 1 room. Ever my bedchamber, kitchen, hall, study, cabinet as well, and well, I must admit, I have never been successful on the fields of Venus, that is, until then. And so I had constructed this cottage more or less as my hermitage. In fact, that is what I called it. As a hermit, I would reside there amongst all of my books on law and philosophy. And can you imagine, over the threshold of my hermitage, I brought my new bride. It was so very cold, I went immediately to make a fire. She busied herself amongst my books, and here I heard her let out a yell, and turning about, she had discovered a bottle of French wine hidden behind my law books. You know, that was always a delicacy for a gentleman to have. We were forbidden to trade with any kingdom of Europe north of the Cape of Finisterre and Spain, particularly France, so to have a bottle of French wine, you were living. And I dare say next to that bottle of wine and that warm fire, a gentleman would certainly not proceed out of decorum. But I will say that the next morning we used that empty bottle of wine to rechristen my hermitage as our honeymoon cottage. And so it remains.